Welcome to our home. I'm Geri, one of the missioners for the Hereford Diocese, and this is Emily, my daughter. Say hi.
Hi.
So welcome to our home, and today we are thinking about Palm Sunday. And one of the things that we do on Palm Sunday is we actually make palm crosses. So I'm going to show you ways to make palm crosses with your kids, and you can use a variety of things. So what we've done is we've decorated some plain paper like this and just doodled all over it, and then cut them into little strips like this. And what we've done, they're about 1/2 centimeter along for like 20 centimeters. And we're going to show you how to make a beautiful cross like either this one. So you can use colored paper, you can decorate it, or you can just use colored paper. So we're going to make these crosses, and then afterwards we're going to show you how you can take something from your garden and then make that into a palm cross. So with these papers, what we're going to do is we are going to fold this and make a number 7.
So
we're going to fold this and make a number 7.
Like this.
Yes, like that. That's perfect. So we've got our number 7. It's a bit of a skew 7 mine, but that's okay.
Mine's really skew.
That's okay. Right, so we got a number 7. So your colored side's this side and your white side's that one. We're going to place it down, and what we're going to do is take the colored sides and we're going to fold it up to make an L. Right. So we've made our L, and as you can see, there's a little white triangle. When you flip to see the white triangle, you flip to see the white triangle. Then what you're going to do is you are going to fold the bottom up to make another L, like this. So we've got our L, like that. Okay.
It's like this.
Perfect, my angel. Right. Now we're going to take that colored bottom and fold it across again to make another L.
And now it's completely white.
Yes. And if you flip it over, you'll see a little white square there, which is great. So now what we're going to do is you'll see that there's a little flap there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that bit there and feed it completely through. It's a little bit finicky, but it's... So we're going to feed that through. It's a bit difficult, so... Oh, there we go, I've got it. So I'm feeding it through.
Nice.
Do you need help feeding that through? So what you'll still have once you've fed it through is you'll have a white square, and you fed it through, you got the white bit there and the colored bit there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this and turn it back on itself and feed it through so that you've got the colored side. We're going to feed it through again, right, like this. Now it's taken me ages to learn how to make this. Ask Emily, we've been doing it for ages. And then we're going to feed it through again to make a T like that and tuck that in the back. So as you can see, we now have the letter T, capital T. Right, and then we're going to make those nice and flat like that. And then you'll see at the back, you should be able to turn this over and slide it completely through, because there's a little pocket at the back. And then you feed that through like that until you have a cross.
With a pen you can do...
And now you see you've got your white one there, and you've got all your colored on the outside. So what I've done, so you'll have a white bit there on the back, and you've got a white bit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to write a little heart in the middle, and at the back I'm going to write the date. So that next Ash Wednesday, we're going to burn all of these to make our ash. So it is 2020. So as you see, I've got a heart there. Flip it over and I've got the year 2020. So that's how you make a paper one. So the kids can have loads of fun decorating them. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick them up in our window in our lounge, and I shall send photos afterwards, and so that for our neighbors to see, or put them on our doors. Right, Emily.
And by the way, if you're a different language, lounge means living room.
It's because I'm South African, so Emily has to remind me how to say different words for English people, don't I?
And if you want to make it even better, you can do a Star of David then hearts next to it if you want to make it even better, or you can do anything you want.
Dan was a small donkey with big dreams. He lived in a little village called Bethphage at the foot of a mountain not far from Jerusalem. Most of the time, he was happy, playing with the other young donkeys who were turned out into the field with him. They chased each other about, kicking up the dust under the trees, or, in the hottest part of the day, they lay down in the shade and flicked the flies off each other with their tails. But Dan was the smallest of all the young donkeys in the village, being the youngest. And he was always being teased for it, especially when he wondered out loud about the things he dreamed for his future. Dan would often stand at the edge of the field and gaze longingly as the adult donkeys were loaded up with figs from the trees, ready to sell at the markets. "Ah," he would say to his friends, "one day I'm going to be just like them and carry heavy, heavy loads to market. Just you wait and see. One day soon." Other times, he would watch as families loaded up their donkeys to go on a long journey, maybe to visit friends or relatives in another town, and say, "One day, maybe I'll have a really important job to do just like that. One day, you wait and see." All the other young donkeys would raise their eyes and shake their heads. "You'd rather be doing all that work than be here with us, playing in the fields? What a loser you are, Dan. You're the smallest of all of us. You'll never be good at anything." And so, eventually, Dan stopped dreaming out loud, and as time went by, he even began to believe that what his friends said might be true. Maybe he was too small and insignificant to do anything useful. But one day, something happened that would change his life forever. It was the week before Passover, and the whole village was buzzing with the preparations for this important celebration. Dan had been tied up with his mother outside the little house where his family lived. He was feeling particularly fed up because he just didn't seem to be growing up fast enough to do anything useful. As he stood by the house, his head hanging down sadly, two men rushed up and began to untie him. For a moment, he was too startled to think what was happening, but before he could say anything, his owner had appeared at the doorway and was asking the two men what they were doing. "Jesus, the master, needs him," was all the men replied, which seemed to be enough of an answer because Dan's owner let them lead him away. What were they going to do with him? He was far too small and unimportant to be doing anything out of the ordinary, especially today. He looked nervously around at his mother, who whispered gently to him, "Go on, Dan. You can do whatever the master asks of you." For the first time in a long while, Dan felt a little bubble ripple inside him, as if his dreams maybe weren't going to be dreams for much longer. Could this be the same Jesus he had heard people in the village talking about? He was about to find out. The two men led him just outside the village, where the master, as the men had called him, was waiting. So this was the Jesus he had heard so much about, and he could see why people were so desperate to meet him. Jesus had kind eyes, and he reached out his hand to stroke Dan's nose, as if he had known him his whole life long. A shiver of excitement ran through the little donkey, from the tip of his nose to the end of his tail. The two men with Jesus placed their cloaks on Dan's back for Jesus to sit on, and the journey began. Strangely enough, Dan didn't really notice that he had something quite heavy on his back. He was prouder than he'd ever been before, and just went wherever Jesus wanted him to go. At the edge of the village, just before the descent into Jerusalem, Dan couldn't help but gasp in amazement at the view he saw. Jerusalem was such a big, big place, and oh, so beautiful, with the roofs of the houses glistening in the sunlight. As they got nearer to the city, the crowds began to get bigger, and when people saw Jesus coming on the little donkey, they stopped to make a pathway. Some of them laid their cloaks down on the dusty road for Dan to walk on. Others tore branches down from the palm trees growing by the side of the road. And then they began to shout, "Hosanna! Blessed is the King who comes in God's name! Hosanna!" And they waved their palm branches high in the air. At that moment, Dan realized that this was what he had been waiting for all his life. This was his important job, and it was more important than any job that any other donkey would ever be asked to do. Jesus, the Master, the King, was coming to Jerusalem on his back. And with a whoop of joy like he'd never felt before, Dan let out his own Hosanna.
Okay, great. So what we're going to do now is I've got some palms in my garden, and I made this palm cross. So what I've done is we picked these, and we're going to show you how to make a beautiful palm cross. So what you're going to do is you're going to bend this over like this, yeah, so that the stalk is at the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to twist this. We're going to fold that over into a triangle like that. So what you want to do, my angel, is you want to fold this over, and then you want to make a triangle like that and hold it. Okay, so we're going to fold that over. So we've got a little triangle there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bend this over. So we've got our cross bit there. So you've got that. And you're going to bend that back over itself like that. So you see it's like that and like that. And then we're going to make the other side like that. And then we're going to bring this over to make a cross. And then we're going to do a bit there. Hold on a minute. I've got to remind myself. So then we do the other side so that we've got a nice cross. So you see we've got that. So then I'm going to take this bit and I'm going to do a crisscross. And then I'm going to tuck it in at the back So like I said, you can even use garden bits. All right, let me just pull this tight and tuck it in to secure it.
And then
like that, it's secured, and then you will have a lovely cross like that.
like mine.
Yeah, yours is better than mine. I think mine was a bit too short, but have a go, and it would be lovely to see your pictures and what you've done with either palm leaves that you have in your garden or arts and crafts like we've done here. And then I want to encourage you to stick them in your window, and we'd love to see pictures. So put it in the comments, put it on Facebook, and we look forward to seeing your craft ideas. There's loads of other ideas as well for different palms. So go ahead and just have a go at your own palm crosses because of the way that things are at the moment. So we want to engage in our faith and think about how when Jesus rode on the donkey all the way to Jerusalem and people laid palms and basically just called him the king. And what was interesting, which Emily pointed out to me earlier, was that Mary rode on a donkey to Bethlehem to have baby Jesus, and he rode on a donkey to Jerusalem knowing what was coming. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Bye.